This is John for Everyday Fan Sports. I'm here on the beat. I've got Steve Ahrendt, commentator, broadcaster, podcaster, manager, general manager. Did I miss anything? Probably a few things.
A man of many hats, to be sure. I'm very busy, Johnny. How you doing, brother?
Good, man. Well, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule.
Happy to be here. Long time listener. I appreciate being on your show anytime you want to have me. I see you had the Roth character here not too long ago, and I will not be upstaged by Joey Roth, damn it.
Well, it's up to you to see if you can upstage him. I only present
my best shot.
I just have the platform. It's up to you guys to perform. Let me start way back. I don't know how far back, but how did you get involved in wrestling?
You know, it's a great story. I enjoy telling this because it's just so ridiculous. I mean, I liked wrestling, as a youth. I remember WrestleMania 1, Cyndi Lauper rocking wrestling way back in the 80s. Hulk Hogan, I mean, what kid that was 13, 14, 15 didn't think Hulk Hogan was great? From Thunder Lips to WrestleMania to, you name it. And, Hulk Hogan tearing the t-shirt, train, prayers, vitamins, etc. Even wore the red and yellow and a boa to my own wedding. So, I've been a fan of wrestling a long time. Decided that, at age 43, that I'm like, I really would like to do sports radio. So I went to a local broadcasting school and I took some courses. And I started working, trying to get into sports radio. Well, sports radio is the most ridiculous business for a 43-year-old human being to try to break into. Unless you can travel to Nome, Alaska, you ain't getting any work. It's either who you know or who you rhymes with no, but starts with an EL, but you know that.
Yes.
So the person who was in charge of our college radio, our program director, Peter Ferrari, said, we're going to do some filming with a company called PCW, and they want someone to come out and commentate. Do you want to go commentate wrestling? And I'm like, well, I know enough about wrestling. I can throw a few terms around and I can try to sound like Jim Ross for an hour. So I went to PCW and, I did my best Jim Ross. I mean, every person that was in a match had a family and every move resulted, oh my God, he's dead. So I was channeling my inner JR. And I guess I made enough of an impact where they invited me back for the next couple of shows. Turns out PCW was closing down. So in December, after 3 shows, that was it. I thought wrestling for me was over. So, went back to the school, continued working on radio in one form of another, had a couple of pretty successful little radio shows at the school. And then about a year and a half later, a couple of the guys that I worked with at PCW remembered me and said, hey, we're doing a new company right now called Crash Tested Wrestling. Can you come and do commentary for them? So I jumped at the chance and, that was many moons ago. And since then, I've been kind of filtering myself through the indies, from Crash Tested to Global Professional Wrestling, from Global Pro to Chicago Style Wrestling, which is my home promotion. I've been working with them the longest, without a doubt. I've been doing great things up there with the bosses and the Hades of the world. Got Carlito this month. So, I kind of stumbled onto it, Johnny, and I was too stupid to stop doing it, despite everybody's attempts.
Well, that kind of gets into my next question a little bit. There's a lot of wannabes out there that think they could broadcast wrestling.
Well, there are a lot of people that can do it. That's for sure.
What made you think to yourself that, you can really do it?
Well, here's the thing. You listen to wrestling broadcasts, you listen to commentators doing their thing, and most of them suplex, fisherman suplex, back body drop, shooting star press. They're all about calling the maneuvers and all about calling what's going on in the ring. Me, I do it a little bit differently. I am talking about everything else but the moves. And my friend, broadcast colleague Nick Swinky, says it's because I can't identify the moves by sight, which may or may not be true. Yet that's my little secret. Nobody gets to know that. But I prefer describing what's going on around, what the fans are feeling, what trying to anticipate what the wrestlers are feeling. So I do like a color commentary where I'm I'm throwing pop culture references because I'm an old man and I have been through many a pop culture situation. So, for example, when someone's being choked out on the middle rope, my God, they're cutting off his air supply. And I don't mean the Swedish or the Australian supergroup from the 80s. It's all about trying to entertain. That's what you want. I mean, the audience can see what's going on in the ring. They know what's happening. It's up to you to kind of try to bring about a reaction. I didn't like Jim Ross because of the way he called suplexes and figure four leg locks. I liked it when Mick Foley gets thrown off the top of a steel cage and he's like, my God, they killed him. He's dead. So that's what I like. So that's what I try to do. I try to describe the energy and what's going on around the ring, because I think that's what makes me a fan. I want to feel it. And if you're a good broadcaster, you can make the audience feel something. And I think that's what I'm not always successful. I'm not saying I'm the best at anything, but I feel like I have my own niche where I go after the emotions of what's trying to occur. And I think that's what makes Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone and some of these guys so good at what they do. And you've got Corey Graves now and McAfee, they're all energy. They're all emotion. That's their whole shtick. And, that's what I've been doing for the last 9 years.
It's funny that you mentioned McAfee, because when I hear McAfee, I do think of you.
Well, that's an honor. Pat is a fan first. And that's what I think makes him so engaging, because he's just excited as the people sitting in the seats behind him. And, the fact that he's doing it a little bit now, I identify with that a lot, because every now and again, I'll get up in that ring and do stupid, crazy nonsense. And, it's such a rush, to be younger and in better shape. I would love to be able to go back in the Wayback Machine and tackle this a different way. But for example, this past Saturday night in Woodstock at Northland, I was the evil GM and I was undermining everything. And I was calling the city of Woodstank, the capital of illiteracy, and, doing my evil doer things. And at the end of the show, I mean, there were people just hating on me. And that's great, because that's what you want. You want to elicit a response, good or bad. If you're a heel, you want them to hate you. If you're a face, you want them to love you. So I was hated on, threatened, and, it's a good night at the office when somebody wants to kill you. So it's the end of the show, and the hero in Cody country is, of course, Cody James. And at the end of the show, I suspended him for the rest of the calendar year as interim GM. Now, the main guy will come back and fix all the mischief that I created. But for my efforts, Cody James stunned me right on the stage. So as I'm laying there flat out, I'm laughing to myself. This is the greatest thing in the world. 52 years old. And I just took a Stone Cold Stunner from Cody James, and it was terrible. It was like a Vince McMahon Stone Cold Stunner. He hit me and I just went face first. There was I sold it by laying there for 20 minutes, but it was, it's a great rush, and people are walking over me as they're exiting going, stay down or we'll kill you. So it's a job well done. And, like I said, I understand why Pat is so passionate, because when you get a taste of it, it's a delight.
Have you ever gotten in the ring in any matches, any like manager versus manager or commentator versus commentator? Have you ever done any actual in-ring wrestling?
As a matter of fact, I've done way more than you'd think. I had quite a program a few years ago versus Mitch Blake at Global Professional Wrestling. And he beat I'm going to say it, he beat the shit out of me.
He's a big dude.
And, he took off the top rope, a flying elbow that I'll never forget. I mean, I don't remember it, but I'll never forget it. And, I've been shot by Marche Rocket in the ring.
He's a good dude.
I got double choke slammed by Cody James and Chris Miller. I was in a program where I got beaten with steel chairs by Metalhead. So I've had plenty of in-ring activity. And most recently at IPW in Richmond Park, I have a bit of an issue with a group of young lads called the Workhorses, or I refer to them as My Little Ponies. They're a bunch of young guys that clearly, are up and coming. And for some reason, they and I have had a little bit of heat. And at the last show a few weeks ago, they beat me down at the end of the show for talking too much. And I got put in a crossface. Not one of my finer moments, but fun nonetheless. So, yeah, to answer your question, yes, I have been in many a match. I think my record, I'm 3-2.
Solid.
In actual matches. But, I've had help Turtle has bailed me out of many a situation over the years.
Hey, a win is a win. It doesn't matter.
A win is a win.
Especially in wrestling.
Well, they however it needs to work. It's worked out for me 3 times, not so much 2.
And do you have a preference working face or heel?
Well, I mean, I think everybody wants to be Hulk Hogan. I mean, at least I did when I was a kid. So when you come in and as a matter of fact, in the first match I ever did, I had gotten the nickname Fish Sticks. Funny story is we're texting back and forth, the owner and I, and he had a habit of calling everybody F explicative stick. And I was typing it to him, but the autocorrect on social media will not let you say those 4 words. And it came up fish sticks. So ever since that happened, he called me Fish Sticks because of the spell check. So I made a headband that said Fish Sticks Mania, and I came out to Real American and I tore my shirt off, and, I had my Hulk Hogan moment. So I think you really, really feel like a kid when you're a face, but I've done heel too. And being a heel is incredibly liberating because you're out there trying to make people hate you. And, in this world where you can't say anything or you get canceled, that's one of the beautiful things about being in wrestling is you can say the most outlandish, crazy stuff and it can be part of the show.
Is either side easier?
I think it's easier to be heel because they want to hate you anyway. When I started off at CSW as GM, they didn't know me from anybody and they booed me out of the building. But, over time, I get a few cheers and a few Steve chants every now and again when I do nice things, especially when I'm at war right now with our champion, Joey Jet Avalon, and his blushing concubine, Sierra. So I'm at a little bit of a war with them. And when I make their lives miserable, people really seem to enjoy it.
Now, one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you, I want to interview you, aside from the fact that you're all over the wrestling scene, and aside from the fact I wanted to give you equal time as Joey, and we'll get
to Joey Roth. We were friends, now we're enemies. We'll be friends again someday.
We'll get back to Joey in a minute, but I think it's important because you started in wrestling a little bit older, and you started as not a wrestler, so I think it's important. And I've carved a tiny little niche in the wrestling area myself as a journalist. But what advice would you give to people who aren't athletes, who aren't going to make it in the ring, but still have a potential future, or at least have some fun working in wrestling?
That's a great question, and I can answer it a couple of ways. Let me start like this: be indispensable. Do whatever you need to do to make your promoter and your locker room's life better. If you want to go into commentating, put over everybody, make everybody sound like $1 million, because if you do that, that makes everybody feel pretty good. If you're a manager, if you're a heel, be a heel. If you're a face, be a face. But do good work and be enthusiastic and be glad that you're there. When it's time to set up or take down, do it if you can. If you have the time, certainly do it. They always tell you to pay your dues, and everybody pays dues a little bit differently. The dues that I paid, are different than the dues maybe somebody else has paid. But you put in the time, you promote, share flyers, hang up flyers in town if they want you to do it. But when you're working for somebody, whether it's in your real job or in wrestling, make it so they don't want to imagine what it's like without you, because that's the way you can carve your niche. I mean, people that do frog splashes and flying elbows and all kinds of crazy maneuvers, they have a very limited shelf life because, injury and time will catch up with everybody, especially with the way some of the young guys are working now. I watch Saban Gage do his business. And I swear to God, the man must have a steel neck with the amount of abuse he takes on it on a regular basis. So you can't imagine that these people can last forever. But if you have a voice, if you are a good commentator or manager, you can last a lot longer. I mean, like I said, I've been in this thing 9 years now. I didn't think I was ever. I mean, I didn't go to school to be in professional wrestling. That's for sure. And I didn't even realize, I mean, I knew the LWF as far as the indie scene, and I'd heard of Windy City, obviously DeSoul Touches. I knew about them, but that was my experience in indie wrestling. I didn't know there were all these places. And, the fact that some of them say, hey, come work for us. It's a huge honor to be part of it. And the way you get your foot in the door is, be a good person, be a value and an asset to your locker room. That's all we can ask for. That's all we can hope for.
And you've been around, as you said, 9 years, but
Yeah.
more recently, you've been around a lot of different companies. I know you've got your eye on the scene. Could you name, a handful, 2, 3, 4, whatever, men and women wrestlers who are maybe a little underrated, maybe a little under the radar?
Oh, sure. I mean, there are plenty of them out there that are under the radar. Whenever I'm asked this question, a couple of people come to my mind immediately. Axel Rico, although he's starting to get a little bit more pomp and circumstance these days, the guy's a natural born leader. He is as charismatic as the day is long and has incredible mic skills. He's flying a little under the radar. Eric Schultz is a guy that plays an attorney character in a couple of different places. I think he is going to become something incredibly special because he is as savvy, smart, and intelligent as I've ever seen in anybody that I've worked with. So those are just a couple. Quinn Whittick, James Creed. These are guys that are high flyers and can do insane things. They're a little under the radar, but they're starting to rise. Gunnar Brave at Rocket Pro, as much as a bastard he is right now being part of the Idols with Joey Roth, one of the most talented men working in the industry. I mean, so, there are plenty of people that are local that are very, very Miles Mercer, who's part of the ARC with my partner on Tuesday night, C Red. I have been working with Miles since he was a rookie on the pre-show at Crash Tested, and now he is as good as anybody I've ever seen. So, we're lucky in this area of the United States. There's tremendous wrestling passion in Chicago. I think that's part of the reason why the owners of the Jacksonville Jaguars want to move the Jaguars to be the second NFL franchise in the city of Chicago, not just for the football part of it, to move into Soldier Field when the Bears go to Arlington, but AEW, this would be their hub. And I think that would make AEW very happy since they're all owned by the Jaguars. So, we're right now, this is the hot spot when it comes to professional wrestling. People will talk about Texas, people will talk about Ohio. You hear about New York all the time, but Chicago is really where it's at, because every time you hear somebody talk, whether it be WWE, AEW, Impact, they all say Chicago is the hottest crowd. And, I've been part of the Chicago crowd at some of the bigger events, and they aren't whistling Dixie. This is the place for wrestling. So the fact that we get to see all these local people, we're very fortunate. Now, obviously Sky Blue, she's starting to get a bit of a rub with AEW. I thought she was incredibly underrated for a long period of time. Kylie Ray, despite her issues, one of just the top shelf women that I've ever seen. I work with Heather Reckless and Sierra. They're amazing. There's a new girl that's starting out right now called Bombshell Shelley. She's a product of Vic Capri and Sky Blue, and she's going to be sensational. I could go on and on. I'm so very fortunate to work with so many great people. I just worked with Cody James and Chris Miller Saturday night up in Northland. You never meet two guys that care more and work harder about a business than those two guys. So, the talent's out there. All the Black and Brave kids that work at CSW, absolutely unbelievable talent. And, I work with guys like Marche Rocket and Brubaker, Shogun, Chris Logan, Christian Rose. These are amazing people. I mean, look at that Dreamwave show that they've got coming up. It's like a Hall of Fame wrestling show. You can't throw a quarter and not hit somebody that's impacted this business. We're very lucky. It's a hell of a time to be in this business.
Okay, so let's get to the white elephant in the room then.
Joey Roth.
Joey Roth. What is the deal with you and Joey Roth?
Okay, so Joey Roth and I were paired up at Chicagoland Championship Wrestling doing commentary. And, it was great. I love working with the man. You
guys are fantastic together.
phenomenal talent. Bullard was a genius in letting us have a chance to work together because it was a sensational experience. As entertainers go, Joey Roth, there are very few that are as good as he is. Then I got called down to Rocket Pro Wrestling in Joliet. I've worked many places in this business, and Rocket Pro is when I start to slow my roll in 2023, and I'm not working nearly as many places and nearly as much, I will continue to work there because that is almost where I'm my happiest. The production is second to none. The roster and the locker room is fantastic. What Kevin and Bill do at Rocket Pro Wrestling is nothing short of miraculous. So at Rocket Pro, Joey Roth has been a thing. His fabulous idols have run roughshod. And without Joey being there, the idols took me out. I got strung up with piano wire, thanks to Flash Harris, and thrown in a trunk and then dumped in the river. And while that all happened, they beat up the owner's kid. They beat up his wife. They ran roughshod over everything. So the GM decided to put together a super team to take out the idols. So you had Logan and Marche Rocket, Christian Rose. You had this who's who. Grin was part of that team. Who's who of Chicago indie wrestling banded together to save the company, because the main event of the last show that we did way back in May was winner gets control of Rocket Pro. Well, the idols cheated with a little help of Damian Satan, the referee gone rogue, and Joey Roth was the puppet master of the whole thing. So now he's the owner operator of Rocket Pro Wrestling, and I quit because I will not work for the idols. So that brings us to September at Fall Brawl, and I'm going to be sitting in the front row as a fan. And Joey thinks that I'm just going to show up on commentary and do the job. Joey is mistaken, but Joey's the man that gave the marching orders to have me beaten up. So it's going to come down to me and Joey, and it's going to get physical at some point because I'm a man, and you wrong me, and I will make you pay for it.
Could there be a match between the two of you in the future?
There's a lot of speculation that something like that could occur. I'm a gentleman and I am not a wrestler. So I when I go into the ring, it is with special purpose and divine intervention, if you will. I say this to everybody. When I get up there and I do my thing with the boots on, I have had the good fortune of working with Hunter Payne at his school. I've had the good fortune of working with Rion Skills, and they have given me a lot of know-how to do certain things. So do I have the training of the decades? I do not. Do I have good quality training to be safe in that ring? Absolutely, I do. But again, I'm a personality, not a wrestler, but I will get up there if fighting is in order. So if Joey decides that that's going to be, he doesn't have to look very far. I have a loud voice and I'm easy to see.
I see. I think it's going to happen. I think
I don't know what he said, but he's right now in charge of Rocket Pro and not making any friends. That's for damn sure.
Well, he isn't saying anything to be off the record. Everything he said was just in the interview, but I could just the wheels just seem to be in motion and heading in that direction. From what I'm hearing.
If I have to put myself on the line to restore order and balance to Rocket Pro Wrestling, you got to do what you got to do. When you bleed the purple of Rocket Pro, you're going to do what you have to do to make it the greatest it can be. And that's what I'll do.
I can respect that. Before I let you go, tell everybody where they could find you, promote what you want. This is your time now.
Well, I mean, obviously Facebook, we do a lot of work on there, promoting shows. We have the Power Hour, which we do each and every Tuesday night. Power Hour is me, C-Red, the urban sensation, the icon. We added the Real Deal Rion Skills to the mix a few months back. And this past Tuesday night, we added roller derby superstar Cactus Rack. So now we're a 4-man or 3-man, 1-woman show. And I'm really excited to start dealing with the roller derby aspect because Cactus is a legend. She also does commentary with me at IPW and Crash Tested. So I've got a lot of respect for her, and she's very talented and very gifted on a microphone. So she is going to add excellence to our show. So Tuesday nights, around 8:45 in the evening on Facebook, you will see me tagging all sorts of people when we record it and we put it out for the masses to consume. Also, we have it on Instagram, so it's all over the place. You can find the Power Hour if you want to see it. As far as upcoming shows, there are a crap ton of them. August 19th, Franklin Park, CSW. Rotten to the Core is the name of the episode. And we're featuring Carlito, former WWE superstar. We've got a lot of great matches. The champions have returned after being off for a little while. The Black and Brave boys, their suspension is over. So that'll be a pretty electric evening. Southland Championship Wrestling will have its big summer soiree coming up in a few weeks. I believe we're calling it Dissension. So that's usually a pretty big show. IPW at the end of the month in Richton Park. I will be back in the ring versus one of the workhorses. So if you want to see this fool put on a pair of boots, come out to the VFW in Richton Park off of Governor's Highway at a 2:00 matinee show on a Sunday at IPW, and you'll see if I can do it or if I get killed again. So we got a lot of things coming up. Rocket Pro in September. Dreamwave is, I'm not working Dreamwave, but that Dreamwave show on August 20th. The who's who of wrestling. So get down there to Peru and see that. Also, roller derby is back on the 20th as well in Homewood. So, Johnny, I'm spread way too thin and I'm all over the place. But those are some of the places if you want to catch up with me, I'll be.
Well, I'm all for that. That's Chicago.
Oh, and let's not forget. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
One more thing. We are slowly approaching October and the return of Chicagoland Championship Wrestling. And although John Bullard is going through hell in a handcart health-wise right now, he has engineered and cultivated one of the most electrifying cards that I have ever been a part of. And I cannot wait to do commentary. Now, will I do it with Joey Roth? Remains to be seen. The word on the street is Joey Roth might be doing some managing of the idols. There might be an idol invasion. So Joey Roth, you never know where his loyalties or where his interests are going to lie, but he'll make a statement. That's for sure. So maybe I have a new commentator. Maybe I have a new partner on commentator. If I do, I have a feeling I know who it's going to be. And that would absolutely be worth the listen because it's going to be my honor to work with him, but I'm going to save that surprise for later if it even comes to fruition. But 2022 is going to end with a bang, Johnny, and you got a front row seat wherever you want to go.
Well, the last thing I was going to mention, you brought up the roller derby. I believe you're talking about Chicago Knockouts roller derby.
Chicago Knockouts right here in my hometown.
I've gone to a couple of shows, obviously pre-pandemic, before the world went to heck. I have interviewed a couple of them. Marley Quinn, I recently interviewed maybe a couple months back. That's interesting. I would love to interview you and your broadcast partner, a little bit down the line when we start talking a little bit more.
Cactus Rack. If you've never interviewed Cactus Rack, she is a handful. She is a handful, opinionated, and you will not cut her off. She's formidable. So I'll tell her that you're looking for her.
Absolutely.
She'll say, who's looking for me? Who wants to fight? Don't get in her way.
Who's that hack?
She is an assassin on skates.
Hey, the better, the more, the better. Bring her on. I'd love to break down.
However, on August 20th, I'm going to lace up my skates, and we've got this little wager thing happening. So I don't know how that will be received, and I don't know how many people want to see me on skates, but she has besmirched my good name, and and she blew me off at Fish Fry Mania. So there's something coming between me and Mighty Cactus.
Well, you are a man of character. I appreciate that. You will not.
You do what you can. You gotta put your niche somewhere, and if getting beat up is your niche, then have good health insurance.
Exactly. Steve, I appreciate your time. Everybody check out Steve Ahrendt. Check out all the places he's commentating, wrestling, managing, broadcasting, podcasting. The guy's everywhere. Check him out. He's the real deal. And
Johnny, here's a toast to you for all you do for this business, for all you do for all the businesses that you cover. You are a tireless worker, an entertaining person, and we all appreciate the effort you provide whenever you are working with or for us. So here's to you and many more years of continued success. I love watching your stuff.
Well, I appreciate that. And the check will be in the mail, sir.
Extra zeros this time. Extra zeros for the personal testimonial.
I forgot the zeros.
And I even wore my Chaz Moretti glasses. These were a gift from that loudmouth. So
Chaz is coming on in a couple weeks. We're gonna have him.
Oh my God, Chaz is the greatest thing in the world. Just ask him.
Exactly. Steve, thank you very much for your time, man. You have a good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, man.